All right, people, get a load of this. Denmark becomes the first European country, or actually any country for that matter, that is considering a ban on Islamic call to prayer. Cites concerns over Islamization. In other words, a bleeding heart lefty would say, Islamophobia. What's wrong with Islamization? That's what these useful idiots say. That's why we don't even need to give them the satisfaction of thinking that we are considering or listening to their concerns. No, Islamophobia, racism, bigotry, whatever you want to call it, we ain't interested, you know? If it means Islamization of our country or our society, we are going to brutally crush it. And all of these steps, obviously it is a one step in the right direction, but one step at a time. Start with this. Obviously, we have seen many European countries banning the burqa and the niqab in one way or another. And then we need to do this. After this, we need to ban street praying. We need to ban halal slaughter. So, we need to take series of steps to stop the Islamization of the West. I mean, the call to prayer should just be banned because it's so ugly to hear. It's not as melodious or it's not as nice as the church bells, which is the favorite go-to argument of the lefties and of the Muslims. Oh, you allow church bells. Why can't you allow Allah? Actually, let me show you. This is what's actually happening in the UK. Pretty much in every Western country, they are up in arms with the Australian government because they want to be allowed to do the same in Australia as well. In Lakemba, it's only a matter of time when our sellout politicians give in to their demands. So stop that. Fight while you can. Stand up while you can. Look at this. This is what they do. This is New York City now that you have a Muslim mayor.
Here is Atlantic. We are hearing Azan. Come here.
I think we pretty got Texas.
Yeah.
Shame on those people. Shame on those people who allowed this. Shame on you. Shame on every single one of those people. Shame on every single person who's just walking by and is not troubled by this. Shame on them. Anyway, that's just New York. New York City is not alone. New York City is falling faster than London did. Speaking of London, this is East London. Didn't I tell you it's so awful to hear? It's just ugly. It's just, that's why I had to mute it. It's just disgusting. It's hideous. It shouldn't even be allowed in Muslim countries. And guess what? A lot of Muslim countries don't allow it. Look at this British woman. She's sick and tired of hearing this filthy shrieks of Allahu Akbar.
Get this. The English Christians within Leicester are having to listen to the Islamic call to prayer 5 times a day from 70 different mosques. Have a listen to this.
70 different mosques. 70 different mosques. How did that happen? Who allowed this? Our corrupt politicians did. Imagine hearing that at 5 a.m. in the morning. So kudos to Denmark that has said that we're going to ban this. I really hope that they are not stopped, but I do have good hopes for this because Denmark has taken some really positive, radical steps. They are also one of the only European countries that have started deporting illegal migrants and have made their country the least desirable destination for illegal migrants. So as a result, they go to surrounding countries. I think it was Denmark that started confiscating the jewelry of incoming asylum seekers, and they said, well, if you're bringing in all this money and this jewelry, then we're gonna use that on you instead of burdening our taxpayers. So that has ignited a debate in the UK whether they should be banned or not. And look at this. This Islamic scholar actually says, yeah, the UK should also ban these shrieks of Allahu Akbar, disgusting shrieks.
This is the 3rd attempt the government has had at this. He's announced plans to ban the Islamic calls for prayer 5 times a day for minarets, claiming parts of Denmark now feel like a suburb of Islamabad. He said a call to prayer should not be heard over Danish rooftops. It has no place in Denmark, and you shouldn't be in any doubt whether you've ended up in a suburb of Islamabad when you walk around Denmark. He says Islamization is creeping in Denmark and was taking up too much of the public space. What do you make of that move by the Danish government?
I mean, it's totally logical. I mean, there's nothing in Islam itself that says that you need to amplify the voice of the call to prayer. This is a modern development. Prior to the last century, there was no sound amplification. So the voice could only travel for about 100 meters. And that doesn't really create a huge kerfuffle.
Yep.
The point is that modern technology and with Islamist ideology and Muslim militancy, they wish to impose their version, their perversity of Islam on the bulk of the population. And so I fully endorse what the Danish immigration minister is doing. And I'll go a step further. We need to do something similar here. There's no need and no reason for anyone other than a Muslim to hear the call to prayer. That's number one.
I know you mentioned also the digital. You can have it on. You can have the call to prayer on your phone.
Absolutely. So this is really this is actually indication, Julia, of Muslims not effectively integrating in this country.
Not just integrating. This is a statement. You know why when Muslims pray on the streets in front of the landmarks like Trafalgar Square or Westminster Abbey, they're making a statement. It's a statement of domination. It's a statement that we are here. Stop us if you can. They're doing this. They do that on purpose. Look at this. This Muslim is doing that on Tower Bridge. Why do they do this? Why do they do this in front of landmarks? They're making a statement because this is what their warlord masquerading as a prophet commanded them to do. They're taking advantage of your tolerance. But for how freaking long? I mean, surely at some point, even a dog bites back if you keep torturing it, if you keep beating it up. Surely at some point. But obviously these woke lefty lunatics, they're worse than those rejected, dejected dogs. They're worse than them. They keep simping for them. Keep simping for them. It's just mind-boggling.
If they were fully assimilated, fully integrated, they would be alert to the sensitivities and the sensibilities of the general public.
Okay, but hold on a minute.
Silos and ghettos, and they have no clue of what the general population is thinking.
Okay.
Which is so true. We've said that so many times before. There are parts in the UK that have such heavy concentration of Muslims. There are entire generations of Muslims who have grown up, and that's why you have noticed they have different accents as well, who never run into mainstream British society. They live in their little bubble in Birmingham or Manchester or wherever. They never get to, and they open their businesses, they go to their schools, they go to their colleges there, they open their businesses in the same ghettos. They never get to they never get to interact with someone outside of their bubble, which is what he just alluded to. He said they're just living in the ghettos and they have no idea what is actually happening outside of their immediate bubble. I'm waiting for that. It's going to happen. We have to believe in this, guys. I don't like the comments when I see people saying, oh, the UK is lost. I don't like those comments. Even I genuinely believe that's not the case. But even if that were the case, that's not a way to fight back. That's not a way to rally your troops, so to speak. I'm using that phrase metaphorically.
A lot of people might say, well, hold on a minute, you can hear church bells. I mean, I have to say,
there you go.
You go and stay in a country hotel and it's a lovely little village, and then the church bells start ringing, God knows what hour on a Sunday morning. I think if you want to go to church, if you're a Christian, fine. But do you have to wake me up as well? Is it any different? Or is it the fact that it's 5 times a day and it's in a country that does not have a constitutional link with Christianity?
Yeah, you're quite right. I mean, firstly, the church bells is part of this society way before Islam arrived on these shores. So it's part of the indigenous culture and customs here. And if they want to do it on 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, I myself as a Muslim have no problem about it at all.
And besides, they're doing that 10 a.m., 11 a.m. or 12 midday. And I'm sorry, as Richard Dawkins said, church bells, they're therapeutic. They're very nice to hear. They don't sound this aggressive shrieks of Allah. And besides, you can't really blame us for having PTSD whenever we hear Allahu Akbar, because usually that is followed by a loud boom. and body parts flying everywhere. So, we have PTSD societally, culturally. We don't want to hear these shrieks of Allahu Akbar.
The issue about the Muslim prayer, you rightly point out, is 5 times a day. And if they're going using sound amplification, the voice travels for 1, 2, 3 kilometers.
Yeah.
And this is nonsensical. Why must people 2 miles away from the mosque be disturbed 5 times a day?
Are you saying that this isn't something you said? Well, you've already said it's certainly not a requirement in Islam. Are you saying that this is being done deliberately as a sort of a militant, almost political act, rather than as an act of Islamic devotion?
It's partly that. I mean, clearly there is an element of Islamic ritualism here. But I mean, if these people were absolutely integrated in our society, they would be alert, cognizant of what the general public feels about this. I mean, for example, now in summer, the call to prayer is 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, so why, if I'm a non-Muslim, why must I be woken up by this noise?
I mean, but is that happening here?
Yeah, in some places it does. For example, you go to Brantford,
Yeah.
you go to Oldham, you go to Blackburn, and you and I live in rarefied districts. I live in Oxford. I don't know where you live. Okay, so we're not.
You're not hearing it, but it is happening. I mean, I've been to in places like Egypt where you do hear it. I've got to be honest with you. I do find it quite a jarring sound, and I would find that difficult if it was in my local town.
Let me come back. If they do it in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Bangladesh, in wherever, that's fine. That's the majority religion there. I don't have an issue there. Yeah, we come as Muslims are a minority. We know more than 4 or 5% maximum of the population. What right do we have to inflict and impose our value system on the...
This guy's a good Muslim. I like him. No, see? Whenever someone says something sensible, and he's making a very good point, that why can't these Muslims be cognizant of the fact that their actions are having a detrimental image of Islam in the eyes of the non-Muslims living in their countries, living in their native countries. Even if you think you're righteous, why are you doing this just to piss people off? You know that people are getting pissed off. But what do? This is what they do. Look at this, praying in front of Westminster. Look at this. Why? Why did you have to go there? They're doing that on purpose. They do that everywhere. Everywhere they do it because they're making a statement. They love to make a statement. Where we are here, stop us if you can. Look at this. This is New York City. Look at this. I think the time for talk is over. We need strong legislations. We need to start banning them. Again, this is it. This is our political democratic right to demand political action. This is our democratic right. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. This is our right to demand that. And again, it goes against the secular nature of Western liberal democracies.
95% of the people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people
I'm in favor of what
say.
the Danes are doing, and I hope for God we do the same here. In fact, I'm writing a letter to the Telegraph today.
Brilliant.
For us to start initiating something.
I look forward to reading it. They've not actually managed to see it before, but they did in 2018, along with a lot of other countries across Europe, France included, banned all face coverings, religious or otherwise, so including the burqa and the niqab from public places, particularly from universities and schools as well. And that I would absolutely bring in tomorrow. I have to say, I find myself utterly... I mean, I would say I feel revulsion when I see those items of clothing.
The burqa and the hijab, the face covering and the hair covering is not in the Quran. These are
even the hijab, even just the skirt scarf.
Okay, the word, very briefly, the word hijab is mentioned 8 times in the Quran. Not once does it refer to hair or to woman. So what does it refer to? It refers to a screen, a curtain, a barrier, a partition, a divider.
We don't care. None of our business. We don't care. We just don't want it. We don't want the propagation of Islam. We don't want it. If Allah meant hijab, burqa, or niqab, we don't know. We don't care.
So this idea that the hijab means covering a woman's hair is nonsensical. In fact, how this custom crept into Islam is through Judaism. It is a requirement of the Old Testament that Jewish women should cover their hair. Yeah. And when early Jewish converts attended Islam or became converts, they then brought that practice into Islam.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I mean, again, there are some, some on the right have been calling for these things. And then people say that anyone who is asking for limitations is somehow racist. We've actually had a bit of a political spat the last couple of days over Bridget Phillipson. But she, in the past, and she has very recently called Nick Timothy, the Shadow Home Secretary, racist for saying that he disapproved of the Islamic prayer, mass Islamic prayer taking place in Trafalgar Square. Was he right to criticise that?
No, I don't think Muslims have a right to have a public gathering anywhere and everywhere. We really need to be cognizant of the feelings and the emotions of the vast majority of the people here.
That's the
Why
point.
must I go drag their nose, put their nose into the dirt? I think when Muslims are so supremacist-minded, so exclusionary minded, that only creates more antipathy and more antagonism towards Muslims.
Do you think that the Islamic leaders who are pushing that sort of perhaps more sort of overt expressions of Islam into the public sphere, is that motivated by something other than just of sharing their faith?
I mean, they want on one level to proselytize, but I think they are also using political, have a political agenda. So some people are talking openly about the Islamic Republic of Britain. Now, I, for one, as a Muslim, the moment is this Islamic Republic of Britain, I'm out of this country. I do not want to live under Sharia law. I do not want them to live under Muslim governance. Because what a mess have they done? Show me Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, Egypt. Where is it successful? And why do Muslims in their millions want to come to the UK and then want to impose Sharia here?
Fantastic to talk.
I like this guy. Why is he a Muslim? He should be an ex-Muslim. I think the best takeaway from this interview was the fact that Muslims should read the room. If something is pissing off the vast majority of the country they're living in, if it's not their original country, then just as a goodwill gesture, I've said this many times before, just as a goodwill gesture, stop doing that. But you know what? That actually empowers them even more. And our woke lefty lunatics, gays for Gaza, idiots, they embolden them. So, yeah, I hope every Western country bans the call to prayer. That's it. It should be banned. Followed by the burqa and the niqab, and then halal slaughter, and then so on. If they still don't learn, keep banning the religious practices. Because, sorry, we don't want it. We just don't want it. We don't have to give you a reason why we don't want it. We just don't want it. Piss off.